In 2013, an independent Biodiversity and Livelihood Advisory Committee, or IBLAC, was established. Its remit covers the upstream Kingfisher and Tilenga projects in Uganda and the EACOP project across both Uganda and Tanzania. The IBLAC Mandate is to advise the three parties on how best to conserve and enhance biodiversity and related aspects of community livelihoods within their areas of operation and the wider project's area of influence within the landscape, before, during and after the projects.
So the IBLAC is a very key stakeholder for us here in Total Energies EP Uganda. We have been working with this committee since 2013 and their support and advice has been very key in developing the Biodiversity Action Plan for the Tilenga project. The Action Plan for the Tilenga project really focuses on an ambitious long-term programme which is designed to provide positive outcomes for biodiversity and communities living within the Albertine region.
And our involvement in IBLAC has further helped CNOC to be more transparent, more accountable to the general public, because at the back of it all, the team gives us an independent point of view about the Kingfisher project.
Now, the IBLAC committee is composed of international experts in biodiversity, conservation and community livelihoods who come from a range of respected academic, national and international organisations. These experts participate in meetings with the parties and relevant external stakeholders. They participate in in-country site visits and they provide advice on management of the biodiversity and livelihoods. An annual report is published setting out the main events and findings. Each year, the IBLAC undertakes an annual in-country field visit to assess the project's progress in the implementation of its recommendations and make further recommendations as appropriate. The primary objective is the harmonious integration of biodiversity and livelihood activities and initiatives that complement and support each other. Now in its 10th year of operation, some of the IBLAC members, whilst on their annual visit, give some of their unique insights into IBLAC's advisory role with the Kingfisher, Tilenga and EACOP projects.
What EACOP is doing is known and is open for opinion and scrutiny in a constructive way. I first engaged in biodiversity offsets way back in 2007. I have participated in the development of guidelines for offset implementation in Uganda. Now I'm part of the team that is advising on how in practice it should be implemented.
My background has been looking at social, human rights, economic development type of impacts associated with extractive industries. And my interest has been from the start the communities that host the projects that will be there for a long time after the projects have gone.
So my big role is to advise the project on two things. One is to minimize the impact of the project to the environment, especially when it comes to forests. And the second is to help the project to offset the negative impact as a result of the project investment.
So I'm the newest member on the committee, the new kid on the block, so to speak. But this is a project that is being implemented in the region, Uganda and Tanzania. And to have someone who brings with him the local knowledge, focus on issues that are important, sensitive to a certain extent politically. So we bring into the meeting such things that are not necessarily a cup of tea to someone not coming from here.
We had the opportunity to see some of the livelihoods programs being implemented on the ground. And when we were here a year ago, things were at really early stage. So this time it was quite motivating to see. We participated in a training that was being delivered by the Agricultural Development Implementation Partner. We met with NGOs who are working with communities. So it was really good to meet people who've been doing this for a long time and who know those communities.
The NGOs we interacted with in Tanga also demonstrated a high degree of understanding of the project, the issues, and how the project should connect better with the communities. And by so doing, hopefully avoid conflicts and bring everyone on board.
It's good to see how dedicated some of the staff are working on making plans that do not just achieve that little gain that is required because of the impact they have, but also try to really fit that into a landscape approach, working with all the other stakeholders to make it a sustainable success.
That efforts are being made to avoid the impacts. We have seen the rerouting of the pipeline for avoidance of sensitive, environmental sensitive, socially sensitive areas is to minimize where possible. We've seen the technologies description of how the construction and operation of the pipeline will be done. But more importantly is to address the residual impacts.
One of the benefits that IBLAC has contributed is this encouraging this integration between biodiversity and livelihoods. With biodiversity programs, a lot of them are basically about persuading people to change what they do. I think what we've done is encourage departments to work together. I think this integration has been a big value. How can this project actually, leave a positive legacy?
Great attention has been given to the specific needs to deal with wetlands in trying to minimize impact. And the mitigation hierarchy has quite well been applied, looking to avoid in the routing impact as much as possible, and where it could not be avoided, because obviously it needs to traverse some wetlands, do it in a way that it's either done in the season where the impact is least, or use techniques that minimize the impact on the wetland.
The project has developed the Biodiversity Action Plan, and this has really documented the critical areas and how the project can mitigate. So the project actually is cautious on the environmental issues.